Brodes Media.
Hey guys, I have some huge news before we jump into the show. We have more Brodes Media content coming your way. Coffee with Brodes is back March 28th, which is opening day. Join the Brodes Media membership here on YouTube for $4.99 a month, and you will have access to Coffee with Brodes live streams every Monday and Thursday at 11 a.m. It'll be super chilled, laid back, very interactive with you in the chat. There's also a Brodes Media Discord channel that is currently active right now, where we will communicate live when games are going on, talking about all the action in real time. Nothing is changing with the current model or the pods, but if you just want added bonuses, hey man, there's more for you here. I'm looking forward to starting the Coffee with Brodes live streams again March 28th, and make sure if you're interested, you grab your membership today. All the information for the memberships and the Discord channel are down below in the description. Thank you all so much for the wild support, and enjoy the show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Brodes. You never know what you're going to get in Philly sports media, huh? A.J. Brown on Friday afternoon called into WIP, spoke with Ike Reese and Jack Fritz about how he doesn't like what the media does, and he felt that he needed to clear his name on some things, and I respect that. I truly do. I wanted to wait 24 to 48 hours, though, before recording this podcast to self-assess, to let what he said marinate. I wanted to digest what his comments were. Because I'm biased, obviously, right? This is what I do, and I'm extremely passionate about it. I love sports talk radio. I think that it's a craft to be able to be highly entertaining for 4 hours and to bring interesting dialogue to the table every single day. You talk Eagles 5 days a week, right? Well, how is the conversation on Tuesday different from how it is on Monday when there hasn't been a game? It's not like there's a game every night like in baseball, so there's new content daily. We love the Eagles. It's our bread and butter. It's part of our DNA here. So we constantly break it down, and I find tremendous value in that entertainment, and I love what I do. So I took it to heart, but that doesn't mean I'm better than that to not listen. I wanted to listen. I think you grow when you have uncomfortable conversations. I respect his point of view, but after the 48 hours passed, I don't feel any differently than I did in the moment. And I disagree with AJ. Now, I'm allowed to do that. I'm okay with saying I disagree with him. I respect him, and I'm okay with him having the ability to call in and to share his side of the story. I just think he's misguided with it, and I'm allowed to have that opinion. And that doesn't mean I don't like AJ. It doesn't mean I think he's a diva, needs to be run out of town. From a football standpoint, I love AJ Brown as the number one wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles. He makes us better. He is a great, tremendous talent, and I think he brings way more positives than some negatives. I don't like how he handled not answering questions in the middle of the season when things were going wrong. I don't like some things that he does, but I could say that about anybody. I could say that about Darius Slay, and I think Darius Slay is a very solid cornerback who does an amazing job more times than not. But I don't like him speaking on his podcast saying, I did my job, and there's others on the team that struggled in their respected department. So, it's not just an AJ thing. Hassan Reddick, for example, we've been discussing, is it worth signing him to a $25+ million a year deal, or would you rather utilize that money and grab multiple different acquisitions to help fill the holes on defense? That's not personal towards Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick is one of the greatest pass rushers in the league today. But it's how do we improve as a football team, because you just went through one of the biggest collapses in Philadelphia sports history. We have to ask questions. We have to get to the bottom of this. This wasn't just a random game where they came up small, meaning, you guys were a 13-win team. You played excellent football throughout the regular season. You got to the NFC Championship game, and uncharacteristic things occurred. You turned the football over 4 times. Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions in one game where he didn't throw any interceptions all year long. That's not the case where it's an easy answer and it's an easy conclusion. You can't turn the football over in the NFC Championship championship game, and if you played the way that you were supposed to like you did all year, you would have been fine. That's not what happened here. The front office took away the power of the head coach. They brought in Vic Fangio and fired the offensive coordinator, told Kellen Moore that he has free range to run his offense, and you have the ability to be the head coach of the offense, essentially. There's reasons why that happened. There's reasons why Derek Gunn, okay, Derek Gunn is one of the most respected journalists we have in this town. For him to say he's getting text messages during the season because they don't like what's being done with the offense and the plays are taking too long to develop, and then a week ago or a couple days ago, he's saying that Big Dom has a big impact on how Nick Sirianni controls his emotions on the sideline. D. Gunn is one of the best to ever do it, and if there are stories being written about this franchise, you'd be a fool in this industry if you don't talk about those stories. We have to bring that up. So WIP isn't making anything up. You're allowed to have hypotheticals. Let's say you put up a Twitter poll, and your Twitter poll was, do you want to have the best wide receiver in the game, or do you want to have the best cornerback in the game? What do you prefer? You're allowed to have. That's okay. That's not ripping the team. The job isn't to just wave pom-poms and love everything that they do and not be critical of it. We're supposed to bring analysis. We're supposed to be entertaining, and it doesn't mean make crap up and just start throwing guys under the bus, but you got to remember that you were 10-1 and became one of the most dysfunctional franchises in the league. This is happening because we've never seen anything like this in Eagles history. In Eagles history, this doesn't happen. So when it does, we need to ask why, and there are reasons why things go wrong. This doesn't just free fall collapse out of nowhere. There's true substance to a lot of these stories that are written by Tim McManus, who does an amazing job for ESPN, Jeff McLean, who does an amazing job for the Inquirer, Santa Laquido, who broke the story on Carson Wentz that nobody wanted to believe at the time. Well, there's similar things being questioned about Jalen Hurts and his demeanor, and Fletcher Cox apparently had a very stern conversation with him. So that's perfect because that ties together with the Craig Carton story on Fox Sports 1, where he made a claim that something happened in the Eagles locker room and it would break any men, and there's no group of men that could ever recover, and he doesn't anticipate a big-time Eagle returning to the Philadelphia Eagles locker room next season, implying that because of what happened, this person will no longer be here. The Eagles sort of released through the media their side of it, which is, no, it was a Fletcher Cox stern convo with Jalen about his personality, and Brandon Graham has been on the record saying that we go as he goes, and there are some things that need to be tweaked. So we're not making this up out of nowhere. It is true, and we are having the debates, we are having the discussions, and there's nothing wrong with what is done on Sports Talk Radio. I truly feel that to my core, but it's probably somewhere in the middle, right? So, shame on Craig Carton if that's what it was. Shame on Craig Carton because he implied that it was women, it was money, it was something along those lines. That's what breaks a group of men. And to imply that this person will no longer be here, Fletcher Cox is an unrestricted free agent. So for you to keep your eyes on what's happening in Philly, he led everybody wrong. He did, if that's true. But you got to remember, when the Eagles release their side of it, it's probably not as easygoing as a stern conversation where Fletch just wanted to have a one-on-one with Jalen. It probably lives somewhere in the middle. So I'll acknowledge that I believe that A.J. Brown is going too harsh on what media is. And then as someone who's in this industry, I'm probably sticking to my guns too much. And it lives somewhere in the middle. And I'll acknowledge that that's probably the case. And the problem is putting media underneath this bubble. And we we have plenty of audio cuts here that we'll get to from A.J. Brown that I want you to be able to hear it in real time. I'm sure you did get a chance to listen to it because it is one of the hottest talking points in the city right now. But it's when you listen and then react, it hits differently. Media is so different. If I ask you, what position do you play in football? Well, if you're the quarterback, you experience the game differently than if you are the wide receiver. And if you're the wide receiver, you play the game differently than if you're a defensive end. Well, if you're a beat reporter who's been on the beat for 15 years, 20 years, that's different than being a columnist like Marcus Hayes or Mike Sealski of the Inquirer, who writes opinionated pieces. They write stories, and they're the writing form of sports talk radio. It's all opinionated. Then there's sports talk radio, right? There's so many different angles of media that have multiple different jobs that if you group everyone under the same exact category, you're doing the job a disservice because they're all not the same. So that also needs to be into effect here. But I'm disappointed because it seems like it's fractured between media and the team. And I loved what we did during the Phillies postseason run. Why is that so special? Well, because people were comparing Citizens Bank Park and that fan base and the way that we were won and the way that we connected with the team like a World Baseball Classic. And the World Baseball Classic is a country, a very passionate country that is supporting their baseball team, going bonkers, trying to win a trophy, extremely passionate. That's how the city of Philadelphia was getting love with their team and the way CBP was on 1,000. And it doesn't seem like we are there right now with the Eagles. And it's not the media trying to rip apart anyone. It's not as if WIP, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and certain other outlets out there all have a game behind closed doors where you keep a tally on who was able to fracture the Eagles the most. You guys stunk and got blown out by the Arizona Cardinals at home. That team sucks. That team sucks. When that goes down, we need to ask serious questions and wonder what's going on here. So I would like to fix this little feud, and maybe it's a bump in the road, and that difficult, really interesting conversation between AJ and Ike Reese and Jack Fritz, who everybody handled it very professionally, I thought. Maybe this is a step in the right direction. How could I be better? How can we do this differently? And I'm not going to change my ways because I don't think I'm doing anything wrong, but I didn't just pretend like what he was saying was garbage and I'll just wrap it up, throw it in the trash, and not give it any sort of time. From the deep down bottom of my heart, I promise you, I absorbed everything he had to say, and I was very willing to open up my ears and listen, but I have to stay true to me, and I thought that some of his stuff was misguided, and it seemed what really hit a nerve for A.J. Brown. There was a clip running around on social media of Spike Eskin saying, and it was about his father, but the way that it was edited, it made it seem like it was about AJ, and I could understand AJ being angry if it was about AJ, but it was about his father, who is very Eagles friendly, who says a lot of positive things about the Eagles, and Spike believes that, well, you know, he's playing a role with the Eagles to keep his relationships going, and that's sort of what the vibe was. So he was saying that his father, Howard Eskin, the money he gets, the cars he drives, all the nice clothes he has, that's because of the Eagles. So when Howard was in there and defending the Eagles nonstop, that pissed off Spike. But the way that it was clipped on social, AJ thought that the money he was getting, the cars he was driving, that Spike was essentially saying, we, the media, is the reason why you're getting that. And I could understand why that would bother you. I would take that personal. I would take that to heart. I would think that that is crossing the line if it was about AJ, but it was clear and obvious. If you listen to the entire clip, he was ripping apart his father, Howard Eskin. So I could see why that would aggravate AJ. And this also relates to the world of social media that we live in now. We live in a world where it is so toxic, it's unbearable. It truly is. So if WIP puts out a poll, would you look into trading player X, Y, and Z? Because you're allowed to have that hypothetical, and there's no problem with it whatsoever. And then you have 5,000 replies, and a bunch of them are idiots that are tagging him and saying brutal stuff and are extremely mean. I said this to my wife about 2 or 3 days ago. I want a detox. I want to take a break because Twitter's not fun. And it's been hitting a level of disgusting that I never thought we'd get to. But there was a time where Twitter was good. It was entertaining, even with the arguments and some trolls, a level of trolls. It never hit a level of super irrational and just so mean and so disrespectful. And now we're disrespectful to by 5,000. Whatever it once was, it's disrespectful times 5,000. So if A.J. Brown sees a Twitter poll and then his mentions and DMs are getting blown up by trolls and douchebags and horrible human beings, and then thinks that there's a correlation between WIP and that's unfair to what we do. So I'm sure that he does get blown up. He's got way more followers than I do, and my mentions are disturbing at times. I put my phone in the bedroom on the charger when me and my wife are outside in the family room watching TV at night because I don't want to scroll. I got sucked into a life where I was waiting to see what was going on, and in my job I have to. I always have to be on my toes because at any point a news can drop, or at any point A.J. Brown can call into a sports talk radio station and speak for 20 minutes. So it's always on your toes mode, and I acknowledge that. But you got to get away, and I wouldn't be surprised if AJ was getting a lot of his content consumed from Twitter. And if that's the case, that's not fair because that doesn't really describe exactly the conversations we have. I get it because you can see something that's tweeted out on Sports Radio WIP's Twitter account, and if you're not listening, it looks odd or it looks awkward. Would you trade player X for player Y? You go, what? Why are you even having that topic? And then you actually hear the context surrounding the content when you tune in. You go, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I put up a Twitter poll not too long ago during one of my weekend shifts, and it was essentially, do you have more faith in Rob Thompson or Nick Sirianni? And from the surface, it's obvious. It's Rob Thompson. And the Twitter poll ended up being somewhere around 80% Rob, 20% Nick, and then it got to about 85-15. It started to creep even more in the favor of Rob. And if you just see that from surface level, you sort of question and raise your eyebrows. But if you listen to how I was explaining it and the context that surrounded my views and my thoughts, you could see the correlation. If you're getting your content from Twitter, and if he's feeling this reaction from some of the things that are said to him on Twitter, my personal opinion is it's misguided. So we're going to play some of the audio from him. Before we do, though, let me tell you about my friends over at HelloFresh. What is HelloFresh, you ask? Well, it's farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes that get delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Don't let recipe boredom strike because HelloFresh has more options than ever before. Dig into the biggest menu yet with over 45 dinner options to choose from weekly and even more market add-on items that suit any lifestyle. They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and HelloFresh agrees. In fact, they're giving all subscribers free breakfast for life. That means you'll enjoy a totally free breakfast item with every single HelloFresh delivery. Now that's worth waking up early for. Go to HelloFresh.com/BrodesFree and use code BrodesFree for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/BrodesFree with code BrodesFree. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. So, I already hosted a show on the radio with this topic, and I was very respectful to people on the other side. I didn't want to play this Tommy Tough Nuts where it's media, I'm yours, I love you. Everybody else is fully wrong. Screw you. I wanted to have an open discussion about it because I'm willing to hear the other side. And I was actually pleasantly surprised with how many fans actually did feel very similar to how I felt, because from a distance, it does have this tone that it's fans versus the media. There's that one guy who always runs around with that quote that nobody hates the Philadelphia sports teams more than Philadelphia media, and that's just gross. That's wrong. That's not true. At the time of the Eagles being 10-1, and I'm not just pretending like I'm the greatest in the world here, because there were a bunch of others who felt the same way I did. But I didn't care that it wasn't the sexiest brand of football, because I related it to the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs won. They won the Super Bowl after not having the greatest regular season. After weeks and weeks and weeks of, are they the right team? What's going on with Kansas City? There's a lot of turmoil there. And they embraced it as a locker room, and that's why they said nobody believed in us, and then we all laughed because everybody believes in Pat Mahomes. Everybody believes in Andy Reid. So why are you saying that? Well, they're saying it because they didn't have the most polished regular season. There was some doubt, and then Spags and his defense took over. They were sensational, sending the blitz when they should send the blitz, timely decisions. I mean, it was all super important to their success, and I thought the Eagles could do that it's winning DNA, and when the lights shine bright, it's time to go win a championship. I've seen teams do that. It's hard to make a Super Bowl, lose the Super Bowl, get back. You have to be wired differently, and to win 10 out of your first 11 games, I thought they were wired differently. So during the time of their 10-1 stretch, even though some wanted to nitpick, I didn't. I was all on board, and I appreciated it because I know it's extremely difficult to not play your best football and to still have that record. There's something to that. And then when they lose, yeah, I'm going to be aggravated. So it really is based off of your play. I feel this strongly and this negative about the current state of the franchise because they stripped the head coach of the duties. You went through one of the biggest collapses ever. There's something broken with the foundation. But when you guys are great and excellent, I love this team. I root for this team 24/7. I want Nick Sirianni to be the answer here. I want him to be a part of this long term because it's better when it's in-house. I want Howie Roseman to be the best general manager. I want Jalen Hurts to be the best quarterback. Nobody is rooting for them to fail. It's significantly better when they are rolling. People want to hear about the football team. People don't want to listen to 50 hours a week of just, I hate this football team. That's not true. So we are rooting for them. And once again, there's different sides of media. Beat reporters don't have the rooting interest, although I'm sure their clicks are better when the team is riding high because people want to embrace when things are good. Yes, turmoil creates debates, and it does have interesting perspectives because everyone is high intensity, everyone's high emotions, so it does create friction, and at times that could be entertainment. But I want to win a Super Bowl. I value Super Bowls, championships way more than that side of the stories. And everyone's different, but I can only speak for my personal opinion, and that's my agenda. And I've never just said things to say things. I always tell you how I feel. Sometimes that could be harsh, sometimes that could be the outlier, or sometimes that could be the norm. I don't think Tobias Harris is as bad as everybody else. I think Ben Simmons is a fraud just like everybody else. The examples are endless for me, right? I mean, I think Andy Reid's one of the greatest head coaches to ever live, and I thought that his time here was unfairly criticized. Some agree with me, some don't agree with me. I think Joel Embiid's the greatest Sixer to ever put on a uniform. Some agree with me, some don't agree with me. This is just how I feel, and when the team goes through a stretch like that, I don't know how you're supposed to do anything other than react accordingly and really get deep. You can't just have surface level conversations when you blow up and get blown out by Arizona on your home field, when you lose a game to the New York Giants, when you forget how to play the sport, and you have to get uncomfortable. This is how you grow. You have to get uncomfortable. And they did the right thing, the Eagles did, by having a deep, deep discussion on the head coach after the season was over, right? And this ties together perfectly with one of the audio cuts. So we'll do this. I waited a little longer than I wanted to here, but I was just kind of on a roll. So here's A.J. Brown on making up rumors and how he feels the media approaches the football team.
I got a couple questions for you guys, though.
For sure.
What's the deal? What's the deal? Like, you guys supposed to be supporting Philly, but it don't turn out to be that. You know what I'm saying? Like, why make up so many rumors? You know what I'm saying? Like, because most of the rumors don't even be real rumors. These are rumors that you guys are making up and everybody run with. Like, so what's the deal? Like,
I don't think you're making up rumors. Craig Carton says something, we react. Derek Gunn says something, we react. There's a story in the Inquirer, we react. And yeah, we pull it apart in every different way. We keep peeling back the layers to see how deep we can go, but we have to do that. I'm sorry, we have to do it. We'd be doing ourselves a disservice. We'd be doing the fans a disservice because let's go to Carson Wentz. If we didn't really do our research, if we just let things slide by, think about that, right? And you had so many people try and defend, well, no, you're overreacting. You're overthinking it. You're doing it. And I was part of that. Seriously. I was a fan of Carson, and I thought that we were reaching a level of incompetence. I thought we were reaching a level of we're doing too much here. I thought we were getting to a level of, wow, the scrutiny and the picking apart of Carson Wentz. It is so overblown. But what ended up happening? All of that was true. All of that was real. So you get all annoyed with, well, this rumor's not true. This rumor's aggressive. This rumor's off the rails. But it was all right. It was all right. Carson Wentz isn't in the league. Carson Wentz was bouncing around forever after his time here in Philadelphia, where he was a huge part of a Super Bowl championship, where he was in the lead to win MVP before he got hurt in L.A. and that Rams game happened. So, that's an example of there being real turmoil, and all of it was real. It seemed out of whack. It seemed unbelievable. It seemed like we were going too far, and guys had agendas, and we were doing too much. And at the end of the day, that wasn't the case. At the end of the day, everyone who was super aggressive towards questioning Carson Wentz, they were right. And by the way, that didn't play out into fruition because the media had that approach. The media didn't drive Carson Wentz to be bad. That's another narrative that's silly is we create so much controversy that the said player then fell apart. Stop it. One thing that does irritate me with AJ is this shouldn't matter to you. It really shouldn't. Your personal play and what's said on WIP, it shouldn't matter what I say. It shouldn't matter what Bill from South Jersey says. It just shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It should matter what's happening inside the NovaCare complex. And it does seem like we live in an era now where they pay a lot of attention. And I'm not saying it's easy because the social media world has hit an all-time peak and it has hit an aggressive time. But you have to find a way around it, right? You got to get yourself off social media. You got to put the phone down. You can't put yourself in a position where you're consuming that 24/7, 365, because it will put you in a position that you're in right now. And I think it's getting too much for him, obviously. All right, let's continue. Here's A.J. Brown on leadership.
But I just truly just feel like I'm just misunderstood as a player, as a person. And it gets frustrating. It gets frustrating because anything I say, anything I do, it gets magnified times 10. I'm classified as a diva. I want the ball and this and that, blah, blah, blah. When honestly it's the other way around. When it's the other way around, most importantly, like you see me getting upset on the sideline, and you automatically think it's about targets. No. What if I'm holding my players accountable? Mm-hmm. What if I'm the guy that pushes everybody in the locker room, make people uncomfortable to try to better themselves for the team? What if I'm that guy? You don't see it as much. You don't see it as much from Jalen because that's not his personality. But I'm the person. Honestly, I'm the person that you need on the team because I'm willing to hold people accountable, make people around me better, but nobody sees that. All you see is the little flare-ups and stuff like that. And I can honestly say, and you see the flare-ups because nobody in that building works harder than me. Nobody in that building prepares harder than me, more than me. I can stand on that and say that. And that's why you see the passion. That's why you see me react the way I act. Like, because nobody's putting in that time like me. I know for a fact.
No, I like that attitude. I like that confidence. Sounds a little diva-like, right? Nobody's better than me. Nobody works like I do. I kind of laugh and chuckle because there is some diva-ness in that, and I'm okay with that. All the best wide receivers in the game have some diva to them. Wanting the ball, I got no issue. You know, and it's interesting because Travis Kelce almost runs over Andy Reid in the Super Bowl after the fumble occurred, and he only had one target. He wasn't on the field for the play. He was getting aggravated, and then in the second half, boom, they explode. They come back down extra amount of points against the 49ers, and they win themselves another Super Bowl. You know, if A.J. Brown was that player who did it, now, quite frankly, I don't agree with Travis Kelce doing it. So if I don't agree with Travis Kelce doing it, if A.J. Brown was running over Nick Sirianni, I wouldn't agree with that. But that's not an A.J. Brown thing. I don't think that Travis Kelce handled it properly. If you want to show that fire, show that edge, and demand the football, sure, I just don't think that you should run over your head coach while doing it. So it's not about who did it. I don't like the act of it, but I don't mind the idea and the mentality of wanting the football on the biggest stage, and that's cool with me, AJ. That's cool if you want that. If you're inspiring the fellas. Where I counter you're wrong though is if you're going to praise your leadership, and that's fine. I want you to be a leader. I want you to step up. If AJ is helping out with Jalen because Jalen's personality is a little bit more laid back and he doesn't have that same exact little fire, and fine. I got no problem with it. But you can't just do it when things are great. You got to do it when times are tough. That's when it matters more. And for you to just not stand in front of your locker when you're going through that tough losing streak, and for it to be, well, I didn't want to compile a negative with a negative, that implies that there's something happening internally, and you don't want to be the one to expose that there are issues in the NovaCare complex. Don't say anything wrong. Don't say anything wrong. That's part of leadership. So you're missing out on a key part of that leadership in my eyes. That was something that really stood out to me. And I think people do want to understand A.J. Brown. I know I do. Here's A.J. Brown on just people who don't understand him and that view.
But you realize people do want to understand you. Like, they do want to understand you. They do want to understand.
I don't think so. The stigma between what T.O. did here and like they always trying to pinpoint that. No, they really don't. They just put me in this bubble with him or whatever he did in the past, and I know him. He's a great person. I'm not trying to talk bad at him, but I'm my own person. I don't move like that. I don't do none of that stuff like you can ask any of my teammates. That's the reason why I'm on the show today. Like, I'm the person who stands up to the bully. Like, I'm the person. And people don't really understand that. And when the play is needed, I'm the person saying, throw me the ball, I get us back going. Give me the ball. Like, I'm that person. But nobody sees that. Like, I give my team energy. I give my team this comfortability to tell them, all right, keep pushing. All right, we just had a bad play. So what? Move on. Let's go. Like, I'm the firm person in the group. But nobody really sees that. All you see is me getting upset or whatever the case may be. And like I said, I'm human. I may not do it the best way every single time, but that's who I am. That's who I'm forever going to be until I'm 6 feet under the ground.
And I got no issue with that. I really don't. I like him saying, look, I'm human. I might not do it the right way every single time, but that's not the intent. And that's fine. It really is. I want to know about AJ. He's new here. He's interesting. He's got a unique personality. He's definitely very vocal. He's high energy. I think we do want to come to an understanding of who A.J. Brown is because we see the talent. We see how great you can be. We don't think you're a bad person. By no means do I think A.J. Brown is a bad person. I may question some things in the locker room in regards to not answering questions when times are tough. But human-wise, I think A.J. Brown's a phenomenal human being. And I want to understand A.J. I do, because I don't want this to be a very fractured relationship. I think that that's a bad spot to be in. And you also have to remember, too, as much as Howie Roseman gets a lot of praise in this town, he's Mr. Leak. Part of the reasons why some of these rumors happen and some of these topics occur around the national media attention is Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman wants info out there. Who do you think started to leak some things about Carson Wentz and how he wasn't being teachable, and John DeFilippo and Doug Peterson trying to get into his ear, and Frank Reich and how hard he had to be coached and he was unwilling to listen? Dude, Howie Roseman wants stories out there to create a certain narrative. So the guy who's in the NovaCare complex, who's putting this all together, he's not just a minor part in this. He's a major part of this. A major, major, major part of this. And that can't be forgotten. That is so true. And you can't let that just go unnoticed. All right? So, that's sort of where I was. One of the things I can't find in here, and I definitely cut it up, so shame on me. But he was asked about, and Jack Fritz asked this question about, because he mentioned that he gave the answers before on what went wrong. Then Jack followed up and said, well, what was it? What went wrong then? And he said players didn't execute. Well, that's not true. We watch football a long time. This was more than just the players didn't execute. The scheme made no sense. Dan Orlovsky's breaking down the film and showing you that there's fundamental issues. And there was a man named Brian Baldinger. Not sure you heard of Baldy or not, but Baldy's breaking down every single day that there are fundamental problems from every level. Guys were quitting. Guys were giving up. Scheme didn't make any sense. There were some serious issues to the core. It wasn't as simple as player X, Y, and Z didn't get a good jump. We have eyeballs. We've seen it. We've been watching football for a long time. We know when it smells stinkier than just the standard, hey, that guy didn't get the ball out quick enough. When that's the case, it's Carson Wentz. We knew that. He was a problem. By the end, we recognized it was a problem. It was enough to know it was a problem. We saw it. Well, we see this. There's a Nick Sirianni issue, and that's why the front office did what they did. It wasn't just a lack of execution. But I appreciate that, though, from a leadership standpoint, because that is taking the blame and taking the fire off the head coach. I don't have an issue with that at all, and that's a leadership quality that I think is a positive. I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm sure we'll continue this conversation to some variation as the week continues to play out. Thank you all so much, and I will see you all on the next one.